Hi everybody, this is Let's Play 2025 April week 4, and I'm gonna finish off my piece this week. Well, that's the plan. Here's where I finished last time, except I did finish the rabbits and I did do the tails. You can see I did the fuzzies on the tail. I don't know if that really shows up very well on the whole piece, but I'm happy it's there. I forgot to mention last time that I stitched the bear down using a blanket stitch, and the top of the blanket stitch I stitched over that stem stitch that was around the edge. And I also forgot to put an up-close picture of the teddy bear on the end of the video. I was in such a rush to get it uploaded that I will include that after this clip. Now, what I want to mention about the rabbits, when the ears are so, I mean, it's all raw edged, and the ears are all so tiny that one mistake I made in going to do them, and that's why I'm telling you so you don't make the same mistake. You can see that it just frayed, and it was because of the size needle that I used. So I went back in with 2 new rabbits that I cut, and I used a very fine needle, the finest, skinniest needle I could use that the thread would fit through, before I did the quilting. And I was very careful so that as not to, yeah, that I wouldn't have been pleased if I had to sew those down. So yes, fine needles if you're going to be stitching around the raw edges, because fraying can so easily happen. Okay, I'm gonna start more embellishing, and I will be back when I have things to show you. After thinking about it for about a day, and then I got a chance to sit down this morning to play, here's how far I'm come. It's a good thing I didn't film all my playing, because that would have been way too long a video. I kept changing my mind and kept thinking I knew exactly what I was going to do, and then it wasn't that at all. So originally I was thinking of a wreath here, and I was going to use all these little, or some of these little pieces of trim that I have in different colors, like these blues. This blue I didn't, even though it works with that, I didn't end up thinking that was good. I thought I was going to do a wreath of flowers, and then when I put them all down, I really didn't like it. It wasn't what my mind imagined, and it was bugging me, so I changed my mind and kept playing. And then I thought, I kind of like the way these other flowers that I cut from these pieces fit on the circular ones. So I played with different combinations of that. Including like just the different combinations, the dark purple, this blue, I even found a lighter blue, and I tried different things. And initially I thought I really liked the idea of this piece in the center of the wreath, and then I thought I was going to do a circle of just these lighter purple ones. Let's see. And then, like I said, with playing with these on top. But there was no combination that I liked of that. The dark purple was good, but I didn't like the dark purple just suddenly being there. So I kept playing, and just to conclude, so I'm not boring you too much, What I ended up doing is choosing this purple around this center, so like this. And originally I didn't have this light on there. It's going to be neater than that, of course. A little neater than that too. Oh well. I didn't find this light blue originally. It was in with my bits and bobs. I had a plan with it, and I had to decide if I wanted to use it for this or the bits and bobs, and it turns out the darker blue, this one, was going to work better for the bits and bobs, so that worked, that I was able to take this. So what I'm going to do, what has ended up doing, and I did cut this from, I needed 4 for the bits and bobs and I needed 5 for this, and there was only 8 altogether, so I that's why it's not going to work out for the bits and bobs, but that's okay. Like I said, the darker blue works better for what I had planned. So this is the plan for this. I'm gonna stitch those on the center of those with this in the center of the wreath, and I think this button in the middle of that. I think that'd be an interesting piece there. So I'm pleased with that. And then for this, I went through several different things thinking, I'm still not sure if I'm going to use it, but I have this shimmery purple that I really want to figure out if I can use it somewhere, but it hasn't come to me yet. I was thinking maybe making little flowers out of it. Scrunchy little flowers, but maybe with these beads, but so far nothing has melded in my brain, so that didn't work. So for this, I found this trim, and funny enough, initially I had cut this flower out of this trim, taking these end pieces off, thinking I was going to use that up here on the wreath, and I didn't end up doing it. But these end pieces are actually a neat design. So then I thought of putting it, I'll remove that for now, putting it on here, but it didn't stand out enough, but I do like the way that worked. And I have this one gorgeous sort of iridescent purpley button that I thought if I could find a use for it on this quilt, that would be neat. And I think that in the center of there works beautiful. But I wanted to have it show off a little better, so I went through several things. Actually, one of the things I did think about for this, I have this light blue trim with some swans and hearts on it, and I did think of this for a few minutes, but in the end I changed my mind. So then I was thinking a square on point here for under this, and I went through several things. This is a wire ribbon that I have lots of actually, and I cut a square out of it, but pinked it actually, and it sideways, I didn't like it. I thought I would, but it was funny how you imagine things and then it changes your mind. So I didn't end up liking that. So then I went with this fabric, and I didn't mind that, but this fabric has little daisies on it. So there's only so much you can cut with just the purple, and I really wanted just the purple, not the daisies. So that I couldn't get that one big enough. So I changed my mind about that. And then the fabric I had under that was this stripe, just a subtle stripe. And I really thought that might work good. So I cut I pinked a small square, but then it turned out that that doesn't really show too much. So, and the pinking wasn't sitting I didn't enjoy looking at the pinked edges either. So then I decided to make a slightly bigger square on point with the stripes going point to point, and I'm going to do a running stitch around it on the raw edges, and then put this on top of that. And I think that just pops that really well. So starting with what I know, this is what I know. I'm sure I'm going to do this, and I'm sure I'm going to do that. That button is still not 100%, but the rest of it is. So I'm going to, and the baby blocks are still planned for here. Oh, I should say, I did think of this as on point for there, but it wasn't quite wide enough either to get a good square out of it, so it's still in the works. I don't think I want to put a tie on the teddy. He's just cute the way he is. So I'm going to stitch these down while I think about these. I do think I'm going to do the baby blocks here, and I have a plan for that, and I'll come back and I'll show you that. Okay, I thought, here's how far I am. I thought I'd jump in here to show you, in case you're interested, how I attach trim like this down. I'll bring this up to the camera. I'm standing up. I put the square on point, and then I stitched this down, and I really love that. That really turned out lovely. You can see, because my basting is gone, that I've stitched those three, and I'm currently working on this one. It's really simple. I don't do a lot, because I know that I'm putting these, I'm pretty sure still, that I'm trying to do this through the camera only. Do that. I don't need to stitch the center of the purple because the blues will get that stitched down. I just really want to stitch the frame of them down. I use a thread that's as close to the color of the trim as I can. And I use a very thin needle so that it isn't disturbing or distorting the trim, or as little as possible. And I also find, and this is one of the reasons I decided to videotape this, if I come up from the bottom of the fabric through the trim, I tend to do more damage than if I come up just beyond the trim and go down into the trim. Like, if I can do this through the camera. No, I didn't, I missed it there. So I'm just going at the center of the top, making sure that I catch a few of the threads, and doing it that way, there's, you know, next to no, did I get that thread to go? Yes. There's next to no evidence that you've stitched. There's no, you haven't made anything fray or anything. And if there is a little bit of trim fluff sticking out, I tuck it under with the needle, either before I stitch or after I stitch, and it usually stays. So let's do that again. So I went down. Now I'm gonna try and do this so that I can see it and you can see it. Oh good, okay. So I'm coming up just beyond the point of this trim, this petal, pull my thread through. Oh, sorry, I keep knocking the camera standy thing. So, yeah, this is more awkward than I expected it to be. Okay, so I'm going a few threads in, and I'm going to go down. And if the thread doesn't go to pull down right at the top, I kind of make it do that. And that's one of the great things about hand stitching. You can direct things much easier. I love that. There's no stress. Okay, one last peek before I finish it off completely. I finished stitching those trims down. The button isn't done yet, but it's I've still got that to go. Same as the button for here. I've got the baby blocks done pretty much. Well, they're this far anyways. I did the dark purple stitching around this one. I didn't do it around this one yet because I wanted to show you that I had blind stitched around the edge. And then with this one, I left it completely undone so far so I could show you that. I cut the square out of the fabric, and I left cut a seam allowance, and then I basted it around a slightly smaller square of scrap batting so that it would raise it up a bit. As you can see here, it's giving it a puff. And when the dark stitching frame is put around here, which I used 6 strands of the full thickness of the floss, I did a stem stitch. When that's done, then I'll position this one in such a way that it'll look like it's sitting on top of the other two when it gets its frame. So there's that. And thus far, I have no plans for up here. I think just the 3 blocks will be good. For the clothing hanging across this is the silk ribbon I've chosen to make the clothesline out of. And these are the clothespins that I'm going to hang them with. These will actually be stitched down kind of like a button or something like that. So I think I did cut this one out thinking I might do the little baby hat, but I don't think I have enough room. I did the swimsuit, isn't that cute? What I did is I stitched a stem stitch. Well, first I should show you, I layered it onto flannel so that it's the fabric and the flannel, and then I stem stitched around the design of the swimsuit, and I gave it a couple of extra flourishes. I put a French knot in here, and I did the pocket as well, and then I trimmed it really close to that stem stitch so that it's its own little thing. And I did that for this as well. It's a baby bib, and here I thought I'd show you a little bit anyways. I'm not going to cut the whole thing around, but so with my small scissors that I can get really close to the stitching, I just cut really close on the outside edge, like so. And I'll do that all the way around and do it as well. But I think those 2 are going to be enough. I don't think the hat even fits. So now, because I'm using the dark purple clothespins, that's why I used the dark purple, because if you notice, I don't really have dark purple. I used it, I'm going to use it for the frames for the blocks to sort of balance out that it isn't just dark purple up there. And I also added the little tiny French knots with some of the dark floss for it as well, just a single strand of floss. So that's how far I am. The next time I'm here, I will show you the finished piece. Okay, this isn't finished. I just jumping in again because after all that excitement I had about those clothes pegs, when I've got it sort of set up to start stitching, I don't like how big they are. I don't like it at all. But I do actually kind of like the little clothes hanging there. So what I've decided to do is take off the clothes pegs, and I'm going to use the pistol stitch to pretend they're stitching on there like they're clothes pegs, littler, smaller, tinier clothes pegs. And because I started with the dark purple around the blocks, I'm kind of now decided the clothes pegs are going to have to be dark purple. That's okay. Funny how things change. And here it is. April is complete. I really am pleased with how this turned out. It's such a pretty little thing. And the change to the pistol stitch for the clothes pegs is way better proportion, and a great use of that stitch, may I say. There it is. A pistol stitch is basically a French knot with a stem, so you come up where you want the bottom of the stem to be. You take a straight stitch up to where you want the French knot to be, and then you do your French knot there. Isn't that cute? That turned out nice. That, I love that iridescent, or whatever you call that button. It's the only one I have. I have a different duller blue, but that purple one is the only one I have of that. And the bunnies, they turned out cute. Adding the eyes was a nice addition that I hadn't originally planned on, but that worked out. And then the baby blocks. Okay, that's it for April. I had a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed watching. Like, comment, it helps, please. And yeah, follow. It'll make sure that you get to see what I make next month for May. Thanks for watching.